Thanks for joining this episode of our webinar series on best practices in eDiscovery and digital forensics. I'm really excited for today's session, not only because it covers the incredible evolution of evidentiary sources in construction litigation, but our guest speaker is also incredibly knowledgeable and very entertaining. I know you're going to enjoy today's session. My name is Jeff Fugit. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Lexbe, and I'll be the moderator for today's event. We've got a ton of information to cover, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Our webinars take place monthly and cover a variety of relevant eDiscovery and digital forensic topics, trends, best practices, and strategies. We've got limited seating, so be sure to register early for the sessions that are of interest to you. If you have technical issues or questions, please email us at webinars@lexbe.com and we'll address them right away. Our webinars are available online at lexbe.com for viewing via streaming video or downloadable as a PDF presentation or MP3 podcast. You'll find this webinar and a complete listing of other webinars at lexbe.com or on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions during today's session, please enter them into the Q&A portion of the GoToWebinar console and we'll answer them after the event. To be notified of future live and on-demand events, please email us at webinars@lexbe.com or follow us on LinkedIn. For more than 17 years, Lexbe's been helping legal teams with limited resources handle document-intensive matters. We have the industry's most affordable and full-featured DIY cloud-based eDiscovery platform. This includes over 7 AI algorithms that assist our clients with their cases, as well as a full large language model integration. We have the industry's fastest eDiscovery processing and document review platform, and this is really important, especially for those document-intensive cases, because being fast means you have more time to review the critical documents, identify the evidence, and build a stronger case. We deliver the industry's fastest return on investment per a study that was done by G2. We are also rated as the eDiscovery company that's the easiest to do business with, a high performer, and the easiest to administer. And we have a full forensic lab staffed with Cellebrite certified forensic investigators who perform full and targeted forensic collections. And if you'd like a demonstration of our platform, simply email us at sales@lexbe and we'll get that scheduled. Joining us today is Leslie King O'Neill. Leslie was the Associate General Counsel at Brasfield & Gorrie, and I'll let her introduce herself. But before I turn it over to Leslie, I'd like to ask for your participation in a couple of polling questions. And our first polling question is, are you currently using ChatGPT in your practice? All right, I'll go ahead and close that poll. And then our next question is, are you seeing an increase in the sources of ESI for your cases? And ESI stands for electronically stored information, for those of you that might not be familiar with that acronym. All right, and I'll go ahead and close that poll. Thank you for participating in our polling questions. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Leslie King O'Neill. Leslie?
Well, welcome to the presentation on new construction technology and collaboration software and the challenges that these create for lawyers. I'm Leslie O'Neill, and I am a construction lawyer. Formerly, I was a litigator for about 20 years, handled complex construction cases in Florida and elsewhere. I'm board certified in construction law by the Florida Bar. And I spent the last 15 years as Associate General Counsel at Brasfield & Gorrie, which is an ENR top 25 commercial general contractor doing construction throughout the United States. Now I'm a neutral with JAM, and I do mediation and arbitration of construction and commercial disputes. So what we're going to be talking about today are issues about the new technology that's being used in construction and where it's going and how it affects lawyers and using this information in construction disputes. So as you can see from this slide, there has been a proliferation of construction technology and collaboration platforms. The use of new technology in design and construction has been growing steadily for about the last 20 years, but it has really taken off in the last 5 years. About 20 years ago, BIM, Building Information Modeling, revolutionized how architects and engineers design structures. In the past 5 years, a lot of new technologies, as you can see on this slide, have arisen that have revolutionized other parts of construction. This slide shows a few of the many different types and uses for technology in construction projects. Everything from meetings to contracts to scheduling to daily reports as an app or a platform. In addition, as we will discuss shortly, in addition to BIM, many construction projects now use virtual and augmented reality, drones, robots, wearable technology, 3D printing, and project information software. We're going to talk about some specific types of technology and how they're being used on projects now. Of course, new technologies and new applications for existing technologies continue to appear, so this list is constantly changing. But first, there was BIM, Building Information Modeling. BIM was the first or the next generation of computer-aided design, or CAD. The National Institute of Building Science defines BIM as a digital representation of physical and functional characteristics of a facility. It serves as a shared knowledge resource for information about a facility, forming a reliable basis for decisions during its life cycle from inception onward. Some owners use BIM's full potential and use these models throughout the facility's life cycle. It is still most widely used by designers to collaborate with one another and produce printable construction drawings. You're probably familiar with blueprints or CDs, construction documents, which are, of course, are two-dimensional drawings. And although the BIM model is passed on to the general contractor, it often has a hold harmless sign-off that says that the model is not to supplant the 2D drawing. However, in the real world, the general contractor and subcontractors often use the model for various construction-related functions. Combining accurate 3D models from subcontractors and trade partners and using them to detect and fix clashes between physical elements, such as between a beam and a pipe, and this can be done months or weeks ahead of actual construction. This has been one of the most consequential uses of BIM for the construction industry. The models are also probed to ensure that all of the elements are code compliant. And also equipment clearances can be checked to ensure that serviceability is not a problem. Being able to work in a 3D model of the project opens many opportunities for collaboration. Rather than going to 2D drawings for construction, projects can use a 3D model of the project that contains all of the design information. One of the first new technologies to take off, so to speak, was drone technology. Drone usage has become more and more common as the price of drones has come down dramatically from when they were first introduced. Also, project teams have found more and more ways to use drones to gather data for projects. Drones are used to document site conditions, assist with material takeoffs for earthwork, take 360-degree progress photos, make elevation maps, do inspections in difficult-to-access locations, such as on the facades of multi-story buildings or dams or bridges. Drones can capture high-resolution images and data from these kinds of hard-to-reach areas. Also, a new product called Drone Deploy, and I'm not touting a particular product. There are several of these types of products available, but Drone Deploy was the one that was first on the market. And it connects the drone to the internet. So now the drone data can be integrated into project information software, which we're going to talk about more later, which can assist project teams in writing daily reports, creating maps, and analyzing construction progress. It can process data gathered from a drone into 2D or 3D maps and surveys, and can automatically send progress photos to the project information management software for daily logs. It can upload and auto-sync drawings for comparison. It can track progress and as-built documentation. It features 2D maps, 3D models, photos, and videos. And it also offers a suite of analytics for inspections, thermal, earthworks, and stockpile analysis. It's an amazing tool and adds to the amount of data available in real time on a project. Many people are concerned or excited, depending on your viewpoint, about the use of robotics and robots in construction. And robots and robotics are really just beginning to be used in construction. They can automate repetitive tasks or do work in hazardous conditions. Currently, in construction, robots are used to do demolition, sometimes heat welding. They can lay out project walls and locations. They can do masonry work like bricklaying. They can tie rebar. They can do progress photography and also do cleaning up of job sites. While it's unlikely that robots will replace human workers, they may work alongside them to augment their work, keep them safer, and boost productivity. We have seen examples where human workers have used robotic arms or other kinds of equipment to protect them from things like repetitive stress injuries, or to simply make them stronger and able to lift more and without straining their back. Also, Spot, the robot dog, who's shown here in this slide, can walk a job site carrying a 360-degree camera and can take job site photos from the same location every day. Very interesting. And the sky is the limit, really, with what robots may be able to do in the future. Laser scanning is another exciting technology that is new to construction. Laser scanning is a process that sets up at a fixed place and rotates while shooting thousands of lasers into the existing condition of that space. The actual activity is not harmful. The risks are around the data and how it is used. Each laser creates a point in space when it hits an existing object. With thousands of lasers being shot per second, the result is a data set of points so dense it can capture a 3D point cloud of the space with millimeter accuracy. Each setup is a line of sight and takes about 3 minutes to capture. However, as it moves through the existing conditions, the software registers the individual 3D point clouds into a unified 3D model of the existing conditions that can then be linked into the BIM process that we mentioned earlier. This process captures the existing conditions directly into 3 dimensions and maintains the information in a format that can be easily shared and understood. Laser scanning can also be used to verify the quality of constructed items. Where vertical walls or large flat slabs need to be within a specific tolerance, laser scanning can be done once the forms are stripped, and a quality control report can be generated with millimeter accuracy before equipment is delivered, glazing is installed, precast is flown, or shafts are inspected. And again, this data will be kept in the project information management data lake. And so if there's an issue later about the flatness of the slab or the wall being out of plumb, then this data can be retrieved to prove or disprove that proposition. Another new thing in construction that's very exciting is 3D printing. 3D printing is also known as additive manufacturing. 3D printing is a powerful tool to rapidly prototype ideas into physical objects. 3D printing is the construction of physical elements in 3 dimensions by extruding materials such as plastic, concrete, powders, and resins from a machine that is guided by a computer-aided design or CAD model. These 3D printed objects can be strong and can be operational immediately upon removal from the printer. In manufacturing, companies now can design a part and then instantly 3D print that part in-house. In construction, scale replicas of projects can be printed to verify how the project will be built or what the finished product will look like. In the old days, architects spent a lot of time building 3D architectural models of projects to show the client what the project would look like. Architectural models can now be 3D printed in a fraction of the time that it took to make models by hand. The only limiting factor with 3D printing at the moment is size. Most 3D printing applications are for parts or objects that are smaller than 10 feet by 10 feet square. However, several companies are pushing those boundaries with new technologies. Specifically, concrete printers are being debuted to print large-scale structures, such as small commercial buildings and housing. The form factor of the machines themselves are revolutionizing the 3D printing world. We are almost at the point where a thought can become a reality within a day or two. This is another thing that's truly amazing in terms of how it has revolutionized construction and made the old ways of doing things simply obsolete. Many of you are probably familiar with smartphones or Fitbits, and you maybe have used those to count your steps or keep track of other kinds of information. Well, in construction, wearable technology is another cutting-edge technology that is being used on many projects. It provides a worker's individual biometric data. However, of course, there are likely to be privacy-related regulations about how this data is used. The wearables used in construction are far beyond smartwatches, although there are watches that are used. Among the many devices currently flooding the industry are smart work boots that give GPS coordinates and have motion sensors, sensor clips that are used to track falls and alert others when hazardous conditions arise, and smart glasses that contain mixed reality technology to overlay 3D renderings in real time. And we're going to talk about augmented and virtual reality more in just a minute. Because the data collected provides insight into numerous medical and other privacy concerns, the use of these devices and the data they collect will likely soon be addressed by statutes or regulations. However, that doesn't mean that wearable technologies will not be used on projects. And another possible application for wearable technology is to provide information about productivity, which could be very useful in claims related to delay or acceleration. "360-degree photo documentation is another relatively new technology and is quite revolutionary. In the old days, many of you may recall, their project progress photos were done by a company that was hired to fly over the project on a regular basis, weekly or monthly, and to take photos from the airplane or helicopter, whichever they were using. Now, of course, as we talked about, drones can fly over the site on a daily basis and take photos, and not just flat photos, but 360-degree photos. Also, a member of the construction staff or a robot, such as the Spot the robot dog, can walk or cover the site with a camera and take these photographs, which can then be uploaded and overlaid on a set of digital drawings. Over a period, these photos document how the site has evolved in that time span. And the 360 photos take a picture of every part of the job, ceiling, the walls, the floors, the whole site, So it's much more comprehensive than the old kind of job site progress photos that you might be familiar with. Excuse me. These photos can also supplement as-built drawings and can assist future design teams with renovation or refurbishment. The photos can also update project progress to various stakeholders who are not present on the construction site daily. For these photos to be used effectively, however, a robust software component is needed to allow easy access and uploading processes. And this is a common thread with all of these kinds of technologies, is that one technology requires you to have another technology to make it more useful or to integrate it into other places, other things on the job site. So the amount of technology being used is simply exploding. Virtual and augmented reality. Some of you may be familiar with this from video games or other kinds of gaming. You can see here on the slide two different kinds of headsets, the Oculus Quest virtual reality and the Microsoft HoloLens augmented reality. Virtual reality headsets allow project participants to experience the job site in 3 dimensions without being there. And this can be very helpful in safety training, as well as to let owners understand the project before construction. This also allows contractors and subcontractors to coordinate and collaborate with designers in the 3D model before construction begins. This allows potential construction problems to be resolved ahead of time, which saves time and money. With augmented reality, the 3D model, the BIM model, is overlaid onto the existing job site. So the project team can see how the components are supposed to be constructed and also to determine the as-built conditions. They can look into the headset and see if the light fixture is in the right place or the switch is in the right place according to where the plans required them to be. Augmented reality is another thing that can assist in training workers, for example, on how to use complex equipment or heavy machinery without actually being in the driver's seat. So we've talked about all these different kinds of technology. And if you look at the slide, you see that there's different technologies in different locations, and they're all creating data, and it's going into a data lake or a data warehouse. Or in the worst case scenario, some people say a data swamp. And that's what we want to avoid. If we have the ability, however, to organize, and to analyze this data, it can be used for predictive intelligence. That is, it can be used for decision making on future projects or on a specific project if they look at what trends are happening or how things are going. And then it also can create reports if it's necessary to report on job progress and report on delays, report on other things, report on safety. All of this information can be gathered and utilized to create those kinds of reports. Going back a little to talk about BIM and design collaboration. Many people think of BIM as something that's only used by architects, but that is not really accurate. There are several different versions of BIM that can be used by different types of engineers. As shown on this slide, there's a specific type of BIM for civil engineering, for site work and so forth. And there's also a specific kind of BIM that's used for manufacturing, particularly the types of manufacturing that use a lot of process piping. But all of these have the same features, which is it's a 3-dimensional version of the project, showing the design in 3 dimensions, and it can be used and can be integrated into other types of construction technology, such as the project information management technology. And then the next step with BIM, I mentioned earlier that many owners now use BIM to help them throughout the life cycle of their building. And how that's done is that the BIM model, which is a digital model, while this BIM model is being used on the project, a digital twin is created, which connects the digital world and the physical world. So it replaces what used to be known as as-built drawings. Many of you may have seen as-built drawings in the old days, sheets of paper in 2 dimensions where someone wrote in red pen that, the pipe was actually not put in where it showed on the drawings, but it was put in 2 inches over to the other side, or some other sort of thing. Well, this is much more sophisticated than that. It is a twin of the original digital model and shows the differences, if any, how it was actually constructed. And so this is something that the owner can use later for expansion or renovation of its building. And also, as we're going to discuss, with the Internet of Things, the owner may decide to have a smart building, and it would include various types of sensors. And those would all be included in the digital twin of the building. So let's go into the Internet of Things, which many of you may know about, even though you might not know that name. But you might have an app on your phone that will open your garage door, or set the temperature in your house, or turn on your oven. And that is all part of the Internet of Things. The definition of the Internet of Things is the networking capability that allows information to be sent to and received from objects and devices, such as fixtures and kitchen appliances, using the Internet. Internet of Things tags and devices are sensors that are capable of capturing real-time information and communicating them over the Internet. This data can be used for further analysis to make informed decisions or trigger follow-up actions. Examples of IoT devices in construction include site condition monitors, security monitors, health and safety management, and fleet management. For example, if you had supply units, say for widgets on your job, and they were labeled with radio frequency identification tags, these can be counted by a system on the site. If the count drops below a predefined level, the system will trigger a request from the central system to order more widgets. IoT technology can track the tools that are on site, reducing time needed to look for lost or misplaced items. GPS trackers can track the location of the vehicle fleet. It can also monitor performance of equipment and identify the best time for service. IoT can create digital real-time job site maps that update risks and notify employees when they are entering a dangerous area. Sensors can monitor concrete curing via temperature probes and help schedule and cycle formwork, thus optimizing labor. However, there is a little caution in that IoT devices have been shown to be particularly vulnerable to cybersecurity threats. Contractors and owners must deal with this security threat to ensure a reliable and productive workplace. Here we see a rendition of a building, of a digital twin, and various IoT sensors, such as temperature or other things. These may include some thing where the temperature goes off and on the weekends, or the air conditioning goes off and on the weekends, or the lights come on when you walk into the room, other kinds of things like that are included in the ultimate design and function of the building. So what we see is that we have a lot of big data on construction projects. And big data, of course, is any large or complex set of information that requires advanced analytics systems to process and manage. And this could be from multiple structured or unstructured sources, such as cameras, sensors, mobile devices, and log files. And we have all of that, as you have seen on construction projects now. And so in order to harness big data, just as I said, it's sort of like every kind of technology requires more technology. You need AI and technology to harness all of the data that is being created on construction sites. It's simply not possible for humans to sort through this information in a timely and cost-effective way. When I started practicing law many years ago, when we did document productions, it meant going to a dusty warehouse, or maybe if you're lucky, someone's office, and sorting through boxes and boxes of files and putting yellow stickies on the things you wanted to have copied. That doesn't happen anymore. Now you're looking at terabytes of data, sometimes unstructured data, and it's the only way to harness this data is through the use of artificial intelligence and technology. And this creates eDiscovery challenges. You have to identify the sources of the data. You have to preserve the data. You have to know how to request the relevant data. The days of asking for the complete job file are now completely in the past, because if you were to get the complete job file, there is no way you could possibly look at it. You need to be able to cull and organize the data and then to analyze it to make it useful for whatever it is you're trying to prove or disprove. We've talked a little bit about collaboration software, and that's a new buzzword that's not limited to construction. Collaboration software is a type of computer program that shares data between computers for processing. Email, in the broadest sense, is actually a type of collaboration software. It has the ability to collect and store immense amounts of information that have given rise to data warehousing. Remember, we talked about the data lake or the data warehouse, which is simply a term for unstructured collections of data. And then data mining, which is analyzing unstructured data. And both of these may use collaboration software. But what's in a broad sense, all email is a collaboration software, but in more recent parlance, it really refers to things such as Slack, Zoom, Teams, and those kinds of programs, because they enable project teams to collaborate with each other. In the design and construction context, not only do they use Zoom, Teams, Slack, and so forth, but there are also programs sometimes called project information management programs that collect, organize, and analyze data from many different sources. The data generated on a construction project includes information such as requests for information, schedules, submittals, daily reports, safety reports, pay applications, and punch lists, and so forth. And many of these are generated by one party, such as the general contractor, and then approved by another party, such as the architect or the owner. So construction project management software developed by companies such as Autodesk or Procore, shown here on the slide, track all the communications, approvals, and tasks in a central portal. And then they allow parties to track information relevant for their needs. Each project participant has permissions set up so that only information relevant for their domain is visible or editable. And most all of this software can provide company-wide status information either on all projects or on a particular project via dashboards, which you're going to see a couple of the examples of dashboards. These allow senior executives to watch the health of the company from a macro level, as well as providing a quick summary of each project's status. So project information software can take data from multiple sources, as shown on this slide, and store and analyze it and create reports. For example, Procore states that it can integrate with 300 different apps, as well as with custom apps that clients create. So as we can see, the amount of data created on job sites these days is almost overwhelming. And so what are lawyers to do when they are faced with this amount of data? Here's a dashboard, a sample of a Procore data dashboard. And then here, this is a project home dashboard. So it shows the status. I mean, green obviously is good, red is where there's a problem. They have standard dashboards, or you can create custom dashboards. And this gives, as I said, owners or GCs, and there also are versions for subcontractors, the way to look at the job or a bunch of jobs and figure out where they stand on those jobs. So they allow designers, owners, and subs to collaborate and manage project information, and they help them to be more efficient, organized, and productive. So the first thing that should happen when a construction dispute begins, or ideally even before it begins, is that the outside counsel should meet with the client representatives to discuss the types of technology being used on the project, the types of data created, where the data is stored, who has access to it, and what data is relevant to the current dispute. The old days of simply reviewing or producing the entire project file, those are over. So who should attend the first meeting? Obviously, outside counsel, in-house counsel, if there is one, an eDiscovery consultant or forensic consultant is probably a good participant. You definitely need some folks from the project team, people with knowledge of the project and custodians of data, and the client's IT or virtual design and construction personnel to help identify the sources and locations of the data and explain the client's data management strategy and its data lake. Some specific issues that relate to collaboration software with regard to eDiscovery. Although BIM, we talked about BIM, integrates with Procore or Autodesk or other project information software, the best practice is to collect data from the native application rather than through Procore or Autodesk. And the reason is that this keeps the metadata intact, which is crucial for eDiscovery systems to be able to run searches. Also, you know the data source. And then secondly, it's best to have the vendor do a privilege sweep before producing documents from a collaboration system, as well as a sweep for confidential documents. Project managers, bless their hearts, they think they're being helpful by saving emails with the legal team to the project file. However, we don't really want to produce those, so it's always best to take a look and make a sweep before you produce anything. Some key eDiscovery questions about collaboration software. What is in it? What do you need? What's the nature of the dispute? Consider the potentially massive amount of data that's necessary. Don't get more data than you need. Look at who had access to the data. If the data is shared with other project parties, you don't necessarily need to produce data if the other party already has it. And finally, who controls the system? Some of these project information management programs are managed by owners, and sometimes they're managed by GCs. And so it's important to know, who's in charge. The best practices. It's important for the legal team to get a primer on whatever project information software is being used and how it works and how the data is stored. It's important to have a vendor who understands and knows these kinds of tools and works with them regularly. The in-house counsel and others at the project team should meet to discuss the data needed and try to reduce the data set if possible. The eDiscovery platforms should model collaboration platforms in their document organization. Otherwise, the project management team's organization is lost. Takeaways. One thing to know is that collaboration app data is routinely discoverable. So you need to plan ahead for handling this kind of collaboration data. And archival and preservation of collaboration data is expected. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of cases that came out recently where parties were sanctioned because they failed to preserve collaboration data. You need to know your client's data and the digital landscape. You need to engage competent experts early on, and you definitely are going to be needing artificial intelligence to assist in searching any massive data set. Going back to talking a little bit about the collaboration software and things like Zoom and Slack, many companies are not aware that their chats on Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Slack, Jive, and similar platforms are discoverable and may be admissible in evidence. They may not be aware that when a Zoom meeting is taking place, it's being recorded, and the chats are also being preserved. Recent case law has held that parties are required to preserve data such as Slack messages related to disputes or be subject to severe sanctions. In Drips Holding LLC versus Teledrip LLC, 2022 Westlaw 4545233, the defendant had a duty to preserve the Slack data when it knew or should have known of potential litigation from Drips. The defendant failed to preserve the Slack data to deprive Drips of the evidence, and so a mandatory adverse inference instruction was warranted. Similarly, in a recent case, Google was sanctioned for deleting Google chat messages after litigation began, where the employees routinely used Google Chat to communicate. The judge required Google to cover the plaintiff's reasonable attorney's fees and costs for bringing the motion to compel. And lastly, the city of Seattle was sanctioned for failing to require city officials to preserve thousands of text messages on city-owned mobile devices, even after receiving preservation letters from defendants. The judge ruled that the city officials' failure to preserve the text messages was egregious and warranted instructing the jury that it may presume the deleted text messages were unfavorable to the city. The judge also awarded approximately $600,000 in attorney's fees and costs against the city. So be aware of the need to preserve, be aware of all the data that's out there, and take appropriate steps to advise your clients of the potential pitfalls, in addition to the great help that technology can bring. Now I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Thanks, Leslie. If there's any industry that's experienced rapid evolution due to technology, construction appears to be leading the pack. That was an insightful presentation of the new technologies that are impacting eDiscovery and construction litigation, and likely impacting the cases of all the people that are attending today. So thanks again for that. That was a great presentation. Lexbe helps law firms and enterprises address forensic collections and eDiscovery. At Lexbe, we provide comprehensive remote and on-site forensic collections that are fully defensible. We utilize industry-leading tools like Cellebrite and Axiom Magnet. We handle a very wide range of device and account types, including drones, collaboration platforms, BIM and PIM platforms, and more, as you can see on this partial list. Now I'd like to ask our next polling question. Do you have a forensic collection project, and would you like a complimentary consult? All right, and I'll go ahead and close that poll. With Lexbe's eDiscovery platform hosted at Amazon Web Services, you get on-demand capabilities that scale to address the needs of your case. With Lexbe's cloud infrastructure, you can get from document ingestion to review faster and get your productions out the door faster. All of your remote or mobile connected employees can access the Lexbe eDiscovery platform via a web browser. It works great on Macs, PCs, iPhones, Android devices. This gives you unprecedented flexibility and efficiency. I also wanted to point out that Lexbe is a single end-to-end eDiscovery platform. Unlike many eDiscovery providers, you don't have to move your data from one solution to another. Lexbe has fully integrated processing, document review, analytics, case timelining, AI capabilities, and production capabilities. We can easily handle the smallest of cases to the largest of cases and scale infinitely. The Smart tab in Lexbe's document reviewer lets you harness the power of ChatGPT and other large language models to help speed your document review. It comes with preloaded prompts that help you summarize large documents, identify entities, translate documents, generate keywords and search terms, identify PII, and much more. In this example on this screenshot, you'll see we use ChatGPT to instantly translate the document from German to English. We continue to innovate the Lexbe eDiscovery platform, which not only means your Lexbe subscription continuously improves, but we're also creating new efficiencies and pass the cost savings on to customers. That's why we don't have to charge you for processing, file promotion, early case assessment, user fees, OCR, productions. We don't nickel and dime you with electronic endorsement charges, and we save you money on the hosting as well. As you can see, our subscription plans start at just $4.25 per gig per month for a 24-month subscription. We also have plans for joint defense groups. If you've got clients that are trying to cut their legal services spend due to the recessionary climate, then you should experience a demo of Lexbe. It only takes 10 minutes and you'll see what you've been missing. We give you more time to build a stronger case by getting you from document ingestion to review faster, and we equip you with the latest technologies like our integration with ChatGPT so you have a competitive advantage. David Jones was concerned that he would be outgunned by his AmLaw opposition. He quickly realized that Lexbe was a great equalizer and helped him build his best case that delivered a winning verdict. Paige Tackett at Thompson Co. needed Lexbe's speed to get some productions out the door to meet deadlines. Lexbe is lightning fast and gets you from document ingestion to productions faster. Patrick Biggins needed an easy-to-use eDiscovery platform to handle document-intensive cases for a boutique law firm. Lexbe got him onboarded fast and provided him the support they needed to build a strong case. And with that, I'll ask our last polling question. Would you like a demo of the Lexbe eDiscovery platform? While you're answering that, I'd like to thank you for attending today's session. We'll be making the following available to webinar attendees: a recorded streaming version, an MP3 podcast, as well as a PDF. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments about this webinar or suggestions for future topics. This webinar is part of the Lexbe eDiscovery webinar series. For notices of future live and on-demand webinars as part of this series, please email us at webinars@lexbe.com or follow us on LinkedIn. Also, we'd like your advice regarding our webinar series. Please complete the survey at the end of today's session. It helps us continuously improve this program and cover the digital forensic and eDiscovery topics that are most relevant to you. And with that, I'd like to thank Leslie for presenting today, and thank you for attending. Be sure to follow Lexbe on LinkedIn so you'll be alerted to the latest podcasts and webinar episodes, and watch your inbox for an invite to our next webinar on best practices in eDiscovery and digital forensics. Take care.